Hello, hello. Just waiting as the notifications go out. How's that music level? Let me know. Is that too loud? I'm quite enjoying it. It's quite groovy. Oh, I spelt birds wrong. Ooh. Hi, let's see, where are you at? Facebook. Let me just do the, that's good that comes up like that. This one's only short. It's right up here, isn't it? This one. Gonna let this roll through till 4 o'clock and then we'll get into it. So Do, 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 do. Hello, Twitch. Well, just waiting. The notifications have gone out, so just wait a minute or two, and then we'll get going. What do you think of the choice of music? Let me know in the comments. I don't mind if I have it on or if I don't have it on. Might be a little bit loud. Let's just pull that down a little bit. How's the volume in for you there, Twitch person? I don't know if you're interested, Twitch, but tomorrow we've got another midday live stream, and that will be the things to consider when you are planning a bird-friendly or wildlife garden. And later in the day, so that'll be at midday, the first one, and then probably around 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30, maybe about this time, I'm going to run the one. See behind me, I've got that cat with a bird. We're going to run a replay of Judy Dunlop talking to me about the catastrophic impact that feral cats are having on bird life and all native animal life in Australia. And that can pretty much be replicated across everywhere in the world where feral cats are out there. Well, I think I did want to wait till just about 4, but I think we might get this going. I'll put the timer on. That makes it easy for me to edit later on. So let's go, and then the music will have to go too, because we're going to be listening to. There we go. Because we're replaying my dulcet tones in the other episode. So here we go. G'day bird nerds, I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm stuck over here in the corner. Can you see me? There I was, stuck in the corner. Little brown birds we're talking about today. I might note too, update for my socials. Moving off Twitter onto Mastodon far more. And that is where you can find me if you are interested in Mastodon. If you're interested in other people on Mastodon, we've got a bit of a directory going, thebirdemergency.com/Mastodon, so I'm sort of updating that every other day. But little brown birds, that's what we're here for today. So this is, as you are probably aware, this is a show I did quite a while ago, but we're just going through, replaying some of the ones that all the Mastodon people can get into. So I will provide commentary or updates or anything if it's necessary as we go along. Otherwise, enjoy about 35 minutes of me recommending plants for those little brown birds: fairywrens, thornbills, weebills, scrubwrens, fantails, Australian robins, you name it. So let's go. I probably have got. Come on, what's going on? It is running. Why can't I hear it? What was I doing there? Here we go. Oh, I even did a countdown there too. There we are.
It's a public holiday in New South Wales where Holly is. So we think Holly's going to be back next week. If not next week, she'll be back the week after. So we can get some more urban bird talk going with some expertise, Dr. Holly Parsons from BirdLife. But today, I figured I would just run through a couple of plants which are really commonly available in most nurseries in Southeast Australia anyway, that are really conducive to the little brown birds that we all love to see, but that can be a bit timid, or they require a lot of protection because they're small distances that they cover in short trips are short. So we need
And they're dangerous
that
for
serve
them.
as refuge for them, as well as providing some feeding opportunities. So most of these are going to be refuge plants, and you'll understand why I have termed them that when you have a look at their foliage, pretty much. Let's have the first one. This is Acacia ilicifolia, or that's sometimes known as just the prickly wattle or the hedge wattle, or even the prickly Moses, or that's shared with another common acacia.
That's why common names are bad.
This plant will form a fairly spreading plant, but metre and a half to maybe 2 meters wide at the absolute most. But generally, they're a fairly small metre to a metre and a half plant. But look at that foliage, very spiky and prickly, which is why they're great. Also, the acacia flowers attract lots of little small insects, and of course, that's good food for the plant for the birds. And when they flower and have finished and set seed, well, then there's some opportunities for the parrots and the pigeons, and you'll often see ants carrying away acacia seeds. So I guess that means that there's going to be some feeding opportunity for birds that eat plants. I'll just welcome in. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitch. Any questions or comments, just pop them in and we'll deal with them as quick as we can. Okay, so that's Acacia ulicifolia. Now, another acacia that you will see in lots and lots of catalogues, and often in native plant nurseries, quite common to see. Acacia pulchella, prickly Moses, again, it's sometimes referred to as. Now you can see the flowers are held up from the stems, but you can see in the detail there the little spines. So again, another prickly one for to protect the birds if they're in amongst it. And this is the habit of the pulchella. So a metre at the most, metre and a half, generally about a knee high to hip high kind of plant, spreading. It's a low spreading shrub. Now, if you plant these fairly close together, that allows good protection for birds to get in and around, can traverse underneath, but can perhaps with fairywrens and whatnot, can build their nest in amongst it too. So a really handy prickly plant, a barrier plant too, if you have got if if you want to put them along paths to stop people taking shortcuts, they're a really great plant to plant in in the bendy section of a
Hi, YouTube.
windy path.
We've only just started.
So can't go wrong.
Only the third wattle.
Pulchella. Another acacia. Acacia rigens. Now, rigens, rigid, stiff. Look at those needly leaves. They're actually phyllodes. Acacias don't have true leaves, but again, beautiful looking plant when it's flowering, but it's also quite a handsome plant when it's not in flower. Looks a little bit like a small pine tree, I guess. This will be a little bit taller, 1.5 meters, maybe even 2 meters if the situation is really, really good.
They can be variable too. That this one in shot here is one from Queensland. The one earlier was one the variety that grows more south into Victoria. Has an upright habit. It's the kind of plant that in a breeze will do the swaying and moving. Really nice looking plant. My friend Shadow barking out there at something, found something to annoy him. Again, you'll often see this in native plant nurseries. It's not really available. You won't probably see it in a place like Bunnings, but there's 3 acacias, but there's probably about 100 little acacias that are quite spiky that are terrific for refuge plants for small birds. And as you can see, they're quite decorative. And some of them, particularly this one, Ulicifolia, and lots of others, are quite fragrant as well. So they attract insects, and they're just a really good plant to provide shelter for small birds. Okay, everybody loves a grevillea, right? I do. I absolutely love grevilleas. There's a couple here that are, again, I've gone for 3 for no particular reason, but really good spiky foliage. This one, Grevillea triloba, has a spreading sort of horizontal habit, and again, birds can get underneath it as well as through it, but people, dogs and cats will avoid it. So it's a terrific barrier plant, a great refuge plant, and slightly fragrant flowers, and insects are attracted to that as well. This next one, very spiky, open habit, spectacular flowers of this variety, Grevillea tripartita. The leaves have a little point on the edge of each of those lobes, and they can be irritating for some people, but they are a deterrent for people moving through and for animals moving through. So again, planted in amongst other plants. It's going to draw in the nectar feeding birds, but provide refuge opportunity for the little brown birds. This next one is one that you probably will have seen it, often used in landscape plantings, can get really rampant, can spread to 6-7 meters, more often 3 to 4 meters, but in the right location will spread. It will grow to about knee height, perhaps hip height, will form a tangled mound and spreads. It's really dense. It's just a really dense cover. It's often used as a ground cover. I've seen it used with councils where they'll even put it on
slightly sloping surfaces, looking to stop erosion, and they can run the flail mower or a slasher over it. They're really, really hardy. A sweet scented flower. I was going to say bees, not really honeybees, but native bees be found in amongst it, and a great habitat plant for um, reptiles as well, because they can get under and hide easily, cool down on a hot day under these mats of lush foliage. So you'll often see this sold in the nursery trade as Grevillea bitonata, but the correct name is Grevillea curvaloba, and it's a really common ground cover plant. So I hope you find that one useful. And look, if you've got questions or comments, just pop them in. Who have we got? We've still got Facebook and Twitch with us, so great.
And YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
All right, the next one, again, very familiar to people in the southeast of Australia. Hakea sericea. It's a very prickly plant. It has a white flower generally, but there is a pink flower form available. This plant can grow to 2 to 3 meters tall, spread out 3 to 4 meters wide. It's quite an open habit, beg your pardon. But again, super prickly. So if used in a mixed planting, offers a good place for little birds to hang out. The honey eaters will get into this, so it's a good plant. I wouldn't have it right next to a path because it can be irritating for people who brush against it. But they have the benefit of, when they're not flowering, they have these fantastic seed cases. Now that's fully open, but the ones sort of in the background are yet to open. So they give you a point of interest for the whole year, really. Cockatoos sometimes will come down and munch on these. I've seen yellow-tailed black cockatoos feeding on them, but they're not a primary food source for them. But a beautiful, showy barrier plant, and I think they're flowering in late autumn and winter from memory. When I lived in Gippsland, there were the white form in the growing along the South Gippsland Highway, as well as the pink form. Now, callistemons. Callistemons are usually red, but there are green and white varieties out there. This is one that's really good on swampy and sandy soil, as well as rich open loam. Callistemon pachyphilus. This is viridis, which means green, the green variety. There is also a yellow and red varieties. Just a really nice, dense thicket, can be pruned really hard. Just a nice hideaway kind of plant for the little birds. Honey eaters love this. This is a West Australian native, but grows well on the eastern side of Australia. There's a pile of really good callistemons. Just look for any that are prickly. I couldn't source pictures of all the nice prickly ones, but we can always do this again, right? Another really common landscape plant that you'll see in the trade is Leptospermum horizontalis. It's a cultivar, sometimes sold as Leptospermum juniperina horizontalis. But this plant is widely used as a low ground cover. And where it's different to most of the leptospermums or tea trees, One, it's got a prickly leaves, which is why the
Hi, Naomi. So far, everything that I've talked about will probably do okay in your region. Um, I should ask you too. Did the notifications go out on Facebook? But yeah, so far everything I've mentioned should should be okay in your region. None of them are frost tender. So, but we might talk about a few more. I might consult my little book here and see if there's any other special ones. So let's keep going. This is one of the best leptospermums for pretty much anywhere.
birds love it, but it also grows horizontal rather than upright. So it spreads, but the when it puts out a new branch, a new shoot, it grows laterally rather than vertically. You can see in this picture that it's forming a few layers, and that's what they tend to do, which make them a great habitat plant for small birds that spend most of their time feeding at ground level or only a metre or two up. And again, fantastic for hiding out for lizards and whatnot. Leptospermums they produce a lot of nectar, but it's not generally, you won't generally see birds feeding on them, but you will see lots of insects taking advantage of the nectar on those plants. So this is one of my favourites. If you are if you've got narrow terraced beds, like going up a slope, this is a really good space filler. It will grow to maybe 2.5 meters wide. Loves to be pruned. Really judicious pruning is good on these, and does have a good seed capsule that all leptospermums have. And I've seen rosellas going to town on these, so a great habitat plant. Next is one that I was talking about in the last show I did with Janine Duffy, talking about koalas. And this is a really important habitat plant, Berseria spinosa. It's prickly, but it's got these nice glossy leaves, but it also has these little seeds that produce. And when it's in flower, and that's the flower, it is scented. And it's a really profuse flowering display. Terrific plant. Can grow to 3 to 4 meters in the right spot, generally 2 to 3 meters. Prickly, without looking very spiny. So it's a good barrier plant. Great insect attractor. Again, fantastic as the backbone of a mixed bed, of a large garden bed. So it's terrific to have in the middle or at the back of a mixed planting. Next, racing through those. What have I got here? Kunzia ericifolia. You'll see this commonly out in the nursery trade. I picked this one rather than Kunzia baxteri, which is the one you'll often see on sale in all the nurseries with the big red bottle brush type flowers. This one just has little yellow flowers, and I can't believe I didn't upload the flowers. It was a bit slack off me racing to get it done, but they're a lot like the little Melaleuca honey myrtle flowers, just little pale yellow or white. And again, it's a stiff, rigid plant that grows laterally rather than vertically. So provides, again, those layers, little opportunities for birds to scurry away and hide. And it's another reason that I really like it. Really, really like it. The last one I'm going to show the pictures for is the Hypercalama angustifolia. Now this is really common in the plant trade. It's a rounded, as you can see, open shrub. That's about 1.5 meters, topping out at that height. But the flowering display can be really beautiful. Both the buds, pink, open up to white flowers. Again, attracts insects. Insects love it. Just a good all-rounder to have there. So that, I can't believe I've raced through them so quickly. So that is the end of my list. I was expecting we might have some questions or comments. So
I might go back to the start for the first couple of the plants that we were talking about, because a few of you missed it, and it's only a quick one today. So, what do you think of that plant? I'll just go. I can't remember what I was talking about right at the start, but here we go. Oh, I've got to press go.
Holly's going to be back next week. If not next week, she'll be back the week after. So we can get some more urban bird talk going with some expertise, Dr. Holly Parsons from BirdLife. But today, I figured I would just run through a couple of plants which are really commonly available in most nurseries in Southeast Australia anyway, that are really conducive to the little brown birds that we all love to see, but that can be a bit timid, or they require a lot of protection because they're small. Distances that they cover in short trips are short. So we need plants that serve as refuge for them, as well as providing some feeding opportunities. So most of these are going to be refuge plants, and you'll understand why I have termed them that when you have a look at their foliage, pretty much. Let's have the first one. This is Acacia ilicifolia, or that's sometimes known as just the prickly wattle or the hedge wattle, or even the prickly Moses, or that's shared with another common acacia. This plant will form a fairly spreading plant, but 1.5 meters to maybe 2 meters wide at the absolute most. But generally, they're a fairly small 1 meter to 1.5 meters plant. But look at that foliage, very spiky and prickly, which is why they're great. Also, the acacia flowers attract lots of little small insects, and of course that's good food for the plant, for the birds. And when they flower and have finished and set seed, well, then there's some opportunities for the parrots and the pigeons, and you'll often see ants carrying away acacia seeds. So I guess that means that there's going to be some feeding opportunity for birds that eat plants. I'll just welcome in. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitch. Any questions or comments, just pop them in and we'll deal with them as quick as we can. Okay, so that's Acacia ulicifolia. Now, another acacia that you will see in lots and lots of catalogues, and often in native plant nurseries. Quite common to see. Acacia pulchella, prickly Moses, again, it's sometimes referred to as. Now you can see the flowers are held up from the stems, but you can see in the detail there the little spines. So again, another prickly one for to protect the birds if they're in amongst it. And this is the habit of the pulchella. So a metre at the most, metre and a half, generally about a knee high to hip high kind of plant, spreading. It's a low spreading shrub. Now, if you plant these fairly close together, that allows good protection for birds to get in and around, can traverse underneath, but can perhaps with fairywrens and whatnot, can build their nest in amongst it too. So a really handy prickly plant, a barrier plant too, if you have got people, if you want to put them along paths to stop people taking shortcuts. They're a really great plant to plant in the bendy section of a windy path. So can't go wrong. Acacia pulchella. Another acacia rigens. Now, rigens, rigid, stiff. Look at those needly leaves. They're actually phyllodes. Acacias don't have true leaves, but again, beautiful looking plant when it's flowering, but it's also quite a handsome plant when it's not in flower. Looks a little bit like a small pine tree, I guess. This will be a little bit taller, metre and a half, maybe even 2 metres if the situation is really, really good. Has an upright habit. It's the kind of plant that in a breeze will do the swaying and moving. Really nice looking plant. My friend Shadow barking out there at something, found something to annoy him. Again, you'll often see this in native plant nurseries. It's not really available. You won't probably see it in a place like Bunnings, but there's 3 acacias, but there's probably about 100 little acacias that are quite spiky, that are terrific for refuge plants for small birds. And as you can see, they're quite decorative. And some of them, particularly this one, Ulyssofolia, and lots of others, are quite fragrant as well. So they attract insects, and they're just a really good plant to provide shelter for small birds. Okay, everybody loves a grevillea, right? I do. I absolutely love grevilleas. There's a couple here that are, again, I've gone for 3 for no.
Had you seen this? Are we at the right section, or do I need to run it through longer? Naomi and anybody else who came in late, who was late for school. I'm quite happy to keep it running, but I don't want to run it if you've already seen it. So just let me know, and then I've got a few things to let you know about that will be coming up tomorrow. 2 special ones, I reckon, tomorrow. Good replays. So yeah, just this. I'll put this one up while I wait for you to tell me if you want me to keep going. This is what's happening at midday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. The things you need to consider when creating a bird and wildlife friendly garden, starring me, Holly, and Dan Fuller. So you got 2 horticulturists. So So this is where we were. Okay, that's great, Naomi. So, did anyone else miss the start and wanted to keep going? Just let me know. So yeah, this one, bird friendly gardens, the things you need to consider for. I think we were talking about shelter, always about shelter, but about positioning water, and this is also about thinking about amphibians and reptiles and insects and whatnot as well. And then later in the day, I haven't set this one up on the live page yet, but it will be set up later. I'm going to replay the conversation I had with Judy Dunlop about how they're trying to manage feral cats in Western Australia. Now, this is common across the country, and the thing to really get out of this is the staggering cost of feral cats for land managers and for people trying to preserve biodiversity. But there's some great graphics in here showing just how many birds and animals cats take. So that's tomorrow afternoon, but I'll also do it later in the probably again after. I might even do it on New Year's Day, late on in the day. We've got. I'm just going to do lots of streams because I reckon there's going to be people sitting around waiting for something to do. Okay, well, if we finished that one there, what I'm going to do is go back to about where we were. Because there was stuff I was talking about that might have been interesting. We'll just run it through. There we are. We finished with the hypercalama. Let's take it from there.
I'll drop the overlay off and we'll just chit chat. I might. I did promise that I was going to talk about some of the.
So ask any questions.
Favorite birds in my locality. So
let me
just get a few.
Let me too point out some of the plants that we mentioned. There's a shortage of plants available, and that's a sort of knock on from COVID. Of course, if you're propagating plants, you don't, especially slow growing natives that might need to be taken from woody cuttings. There might be 2 or 3 years to get them into the trade. And, of course, with everything that was shut down, a lot of propagation didn't happen. So substitution needs to happen. You need to be aware of that when you go shopping. My list, and this was a year or probably not quite a year ago. It was in winter. Look at what I was wearing. So, yeah, just be mindful. If you want any advice, I'm always happy to talk to you. Or if you've got, if you know nurseries that are around, or if you're looking to do mail order, buying online, reach out and maybe I'll have a look at the catalogue for you, and give you some advice before you order, and maybe reach out if I know the guys. A lot of these nursery guys I know, and find out what their pipeline, their production pipeline is like. So anyway, I think I did say when I went to do the little brown birds that I'd talk about some of my favourite birds in my neighbourhood. So let's go there.
Bear with me, all right? There. This one on Twitch. Let's get the best images up, and that I'm allowed to show on.
And of course, you can do questions or comments.
There's a good picture. Gee, that's a good one.
I might put myself back in the picture here.
let me share that tab. That would be good.
Gee, come on, get on with
This
it.
is one of the birds I see most most mornings when I'm out and about on my walk.
Doing
There we are. Let's put that on full screen.
first seen and heard every day.
There we are. That's the red wattlebird. I wonder why it's called the red wattlebird. Any guesses on that?
Lovely shot by
Good
Leo.
on you, Leo, for putting this up on. That apparently was taken at Pambula, southern New South Wales. Oh, you can see.
You've probably been there,
It's on
Naomi.
a Grevillea. I'm guessing it's a Grevillea Robin Gordon or a Grevillea Superb. I can tell there by the foliage. But that's one of my favourite birds that I see on my morning walk. Let me just get another one.
Are you at Pambula now, Naomi?
I always talk about the. Let's have a look at the little wattlebird.
So if you are, Naomi, I'll just stop this. There is a bunch of really great native nurseries in the region there. So, yeah, check it out. Say hi to your dad too, by the way. Now we'll just see what else I was talking about.
Comparatively, they're about 2/3 of the size of the red wattlebird. There we go. There's a nice picture. E-bird. Let's pop that one up.
I have to be careful of the images I show. They have to be ones I can have. You were. I thought you were saying that's where you.
Thanks for watching too, by the way. But let's ask me some questions. It's always better when I get.
Kangarootha is a great nursery down there, too. Oh, here we go. There we go. Little wattle.
Now there's a little wattlebird. And
on a salvia.
Like it might actually be sitting on a salvia. Terrific.
Actually, it's not a salvia bird when I look at it.
Really common.
Similar.
Really common. I have them here. But they are dominated by the red wattlebirds until there's a gang of the little wattlebirds, and then they take over again. Okay, that's that one. Let me get something else up. We've done the reds. We've done the little.
They're certainly aggressive. The red wattlebirds rule the park around here. And actually the New Holland honeyeaters are starting to dominate the little wattlebirds around here too.
New Holland honeyeater. Let's have a look at this one. I don't like the name of this bird, but which picture will we get?
How good's that swift parrot behind me, by the way?
That one's a beard picture. Let's open an image. There we are.
Yeah, we used to have noisy miners in the park here, and they're gone.
Oh, E-bird's great today.
Red wattlebirds have chased them out.
Thanks, E-bird. There we are. New Holland honeyeater. That's the other very common honeyeater around my place. I think they've actually got a second nesting going on, a second brood. I've already seen one lot of nestlings being fed around the place, and now I'm hearing a whole lot of new ones. So I reckon that's what's going on here.
One of my favourite
New Holland
birds.
honeyeater, or I like to call it the yellow-winged honeyeater because I don't like the colonial aspect of New Holland, but that's just me. That is just me. I'm going to stay on eBird. Let's do it on here, and I'll put in the other one, which is my regular morning companion, Australian magpie. There we are.
And that's one of the proper ones, the white-backed magpie.
Black-backed form. I get the white-backed form here.
They're the black-backs.
You can see there, they've got the white nape at the black back. So they're the black-backed form. They're generally north of the Great Dividing Range.
That's a black-back.
These are all black-backed
females.
Black-backed.
That's a white-backed female.
That one's the female of the whiteback, the one we have here. The male has an all white back. Bloody magnificent. Yeah. I was expecting to get lots of questions about plants today, so I'm a bit at a loss. What else do I get around here regularly? Oh yes, I get another honeyeater that is around often. These are the resident honeyeaters.
Basically exactly the same, Naomi. They have slightly different ways they structure their songs, but they're basically the same.
They're around here all year. Most of the other honeyeaters move through. They come back in summertime. Yeah. It's nice to see you still with us there, Twitch. Love it if you.
This white-plumed honeyeater it was very common when I first moved here, and I moved here in 2014, and they were very common around here, but between then and now, the New Holland honeyeater has tended to displace them. I see the white plume still up in the very tops of the very mature eucalypts that surround the park, sort of at one end. The red wattlebirds dominate the closest part to me, and when I get the camera up and flying and I'm comfortable with the videos, I'll do a bit of a tour of the park. But yeah, the white-plumed honeyeater tends to be being displaced in my region. I don't know if that's happening everywhere. I'm pretty sure if we had more dense gardens with more foliage rather than the open. To give you an idea, around here it's very much old style fruit tree gardens, maybe with some hydrangeas, but mostly it's things like olives and locusts and some roses, really traditional English style gardens, and not conducive to a lot of the species, which is why we have so many common blackbirds and miners, starlings, sparrows, and spotted doves around here.
Ask me a question. I'll show.
Oh, what did I do next? Oh, you'll like this one, Naomi, I think. One of my faves.
These are
got a pair
of these around my place, the magpie lark or the mudlark. is often called extreme sexual dimorphism. You see that's the male in the picture there, but have a look how different
We'll talk
the
about
female
that
is.
when
There's
this
the
runs
female.
through, Naomi.
So she's got a stripe vertically through her eye and a white face. And here we've got a black face with a ear patch and an eyebrow for the male. Really interesting birds. These guys or these birds will be obsessed with mirrors. So in breeding season, it's a really good idea to remove reflective surfaces if you possibly can, because it drives them absolutely mad. I get this bird hanging around in the park frequently in the summertime. I haven't seen them recently, so hopefully they're coming back soon, widespread over large portion of Australia. Let me just see, they haven't got a habit or anything in there? No, it's just for identification. Yeah, generally hanging around a bit higher up in the plant, in the trees, than the yellow winged honeyeater or New Holland honeyeater. A bit smaller as well. And most of the, I guess we get a lot of honeyeaters here, but not all at once. That's another one that is common around here again.
Very good point you make, Naomi. Hubcaps also
often
can have them
see
obsessed.
The white-eared honeyeater creeping up trunks, eating insects. Just having a look if there's any other groovy shots of them. No, coming in to drink. No. So there we are. Well, Twitch, thanks for being with us. That was basically what I had expected to talk about. And if there's no questions, if no one's got any questions or any comments, I don't want to waste your time just hanging around here. So, thanks.
So we'll end that one there. I'll pull it out of the stream. We'll get rid of that. So, Naomi, that was a good question. Is there a way to plant for these birds like the white-plumed honeyeater? Okay, so, well, the short answer is yes, but it's a bit more complicated than that. And the reason being is that most of the honeyeaters form family groups and are quite territorial. So maybe tell me, Naomi, what honeyeaters do you have apart from your noisy miner, your red wattlebird and your little wattlebirds? Pop that in and we'll see if we can, we'll see whether we can sort it out, because maybe they're just not pugnacious enough to survive. Okay, if you've got Lewins and yellow-faced. Now, Lewins are very much, they occupy sort of the same niche as the white-plumed, in that they will select very similar food plants. They will nest in similar in similar places. I'll just get my guide. Hold on. Bearing in mind, a lot of what we know about where honeyeaters nest is a little bit incomplete. But I'm just gonna see what the latest edition of the Bird Guide tells us. When I find the honeyeaters, here we go. I'll need my reading binoculars on for this. So, okay, so let's have a look at the. Can you hear me all right while I'm a bit further away from the microphone? Here we go. We should be at Lewins. Here we go. Forages in canopy and on trunks and limbs for nectar, fruits, berries. Very adaptable for gardens. Let's have a look. But I would have just have a look. I'm not. I wonder whether you sometimes would see a white naped there as well. Here we go. White plumed. Yeah, principally a bird of inland riverine environments, but also present in open woodlands and has adapted to gardens, including exotic inner city plantings in southern coastal cities. You should certainly be seeing it. So they don't move that much, so they're usually around. Movement dictated by food availability. Dietary staple is insects gleaned from foliage or captured in flight, occasionally from the ground. Lerps and nectar when available. Gregarious and noisily active with much chasing, bill clapping and communal wing quivering displays. And I certainly see that. Now I'm just going to go back and check with... all right, so they're not directly competing. So I think you could probably plant, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm just going to check the yellow-faced. I'm not sure which way they are in this. Here we are. We should be yellow-faced. So yellow-faced are migratory. It's not really telling me what they're usually eating. So I used to get the yellow-faced where I lived in Gippsland, pretty much feeding on exactly the same plants. I used to see them feeding on the same plants that the spinebills would feed on, and they would generally be lower grevilleas and kangaroo paws, anything like that, but lower to the ground. So I'm thinking if you want the white naped, you're going to need some of those medium large eucalypts, and the Lewins are more likely to be attracted to fruit, and so I would think that maybe the piece of the puzzle that you don't have for the for the white plumed, if you want more white plumed, would be some medium to larger eucalypts that are indigenous in your area. I mean, I can look into it a little bit more. I would think they'd be things like maybe. I mean, do you have the spotted gum, Eucalyptus maculata, and the Sydney blue gum there? Maybe even Eucalyptus citriodora, lemon scented gum, Eucalyptus nicolai, like we were talking about in the in the one earlier today. They would all be pretty good. I'll look into it a little bit more, and maybe talk about it if you're on tomorrow, and see if I can come up with any other thoughts, and I'll check if there's any literature out there that rather than the bird books, but if there's any papers that are talking about the food plants and more about the habit. Certainly here, they are in exactly the same niche at the tops of the trees as the New Holland honeyeater. And from my experience before living here, I would have said that New Holland honeyeaters were occupying the niche lower down. But here I see them way up, dominating the foliage, the outer edges of the canopy, and I think they're chasing the white plumed away. So that would be my thoughts. So yeah, I'll do that. I will do that, Naomi. Among all the million other things that I'm going to do, but I'm pretty keen. I'll write that on my whiteboard now, just so I put it in with. What are we doing? White plumed. So what do versus Lewins and yellow face, and you've got spinebills there, haven't you, Naomi? Eastern spinebill. Gee, this is going to be fun. Quite like doing stuff like that. Now, Naomi, that's a good question. I'll pop that up too. Now, they're all territorial, but in different ways. What I see with the little wattlebird around here, bellbird are a totally different kettle of fish. Bellbirds will certainly be causing problems for your white-plumed honeyeater, I would be thinking, because they feed on lerp, and they basically guard their lerp farm, and lerp are on the extremities of the canopy on things like manna gums. So bellbirds that are going to rule the roost there. Noisy miners they like a bit more open, an open situation. But again, they form large groups, large flocks. Well, they're not large flocks like starlings, but they're big groups. And they just don't let anyone else around. So this is where you need to be able to have maybe a slightly different kind of habitat section if you've got big enough area in the garden, and provide food trees, maybe different types, maybe hakeas or maybe dryandras, or, you just have to try some other things out that give an opportunity for different birds to escape the bullies. Now at my place, and I might take a shot on the phone when I do my walk in the morning, and I'll show you where the little wattle birds hang out, and they don't let any other honey eaters in the garden that they own, and it's got a dense form of Banksia integrifolia in the garden. It's also got a miniature red flowering gum, which is in bud now, and it has a group of kangaroo paws, and there's a callistemon backing onto that property. There's a callistemon citrinus, I think it is, that's right there, and then overhanging outside the property boundary, but on the nature strip, there is a hakea, and that little patch is what the little wattlebirds own. Nothing else comes in, and between those main food trees, they have enough. There is nothing else in that little patch. I go 2 houses up, and it's New Holland honeyeaters own that patch. And there's always red wattlebirds around, but the red wattlebirds have a bigger territory and they move around. But, yeah. So, look, sometimes you just can't beat them other than altering what is there. Now, you won't get rid of bellbirds without getting rid of those tall trees. And you don't want to do that, because once you do that, your whole habitat will be altered, and might invite other birds that give you more problems. Once it's more open, you might get more noisy miners. So that's the kind of story, Naomi. Perhaps what are you telling us now? Okay, with ravens, red wattlebirds, and currawongs, I'm thinking that she's got a more open situation. There we go. The thornbills live in the hedge, and in the windbreak. Yeah. What I'm thinking I might do, I just had this idea. You know how they do the Triple J countdown, Naomi, on the Australia Day weekend? I might do 100 plants for little brown birds. That'll give me time to get the visuals together. What about that? What about that idea? 100 plants for little brown birds on that weekend, or maybe on the Monday. What is that would be Monday the 30th. Monday the 30th might be the good day, and I might invite Ricky Coughlin to join in if she's available, because Ricky's a big fan of little brown birds. Naomi, have you seen Ricky's just put out her book about little brown birds? It's based around the Royal National Park, but I haven't seen the book yet. But it's out, so. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to write the date down so I don't forget. 30th of Jan with a question mark. 100 plants for little brown birds. Oh, when I can afford the memory cards. They're so expensive for my camera. Then I'll start to take more of my own shots and videos and situations of the habitats that I'm talking about. Habitat's the wrong word, really. The situations in gardens that I see operating for the birds, so that it's easier to explain. Got to write Ricky. Okay, well, I reckon that's been pretty good value. Just saw a couple other people dropping in. You still with us, Stan? I know which one of you is Naomi. I don't know who's with us on Twitch, and I don't really know who's with us on YouTube. So yeah, that would be that idea. So I've got some homework for you. Oh, and another one. People still coming in. That's pretty cool. Hello, YouTube. Nice to see you. So, for the newcomers, we were just discussing, we got through, it was a very short episode for little brown birds, plants for little brown birds, and it was a short list because it was just put together quickly because I had to fill something on the day that I did it. But we're thinking about doing 100 plants for little brown birds, and I'll extend it to more across the country on either Monday the 30th of January or maybe on the Australia Day weekend. Australia Day is 26th. That's a Thursday. So maybe on the 27th or 28th or the 29th. I'll just see when people are available. If I can get Ricky in, that would be great. Yes, so that's where we're at for the newcomers. What else what did I want? I'll tell you what's coming up. How about that? What's coming up tomorrow? Tomorrow, midday. The things you need to consider when creating a bird and wildlife friendly garden. And I will be reporting back to Naomi then with some of the issues we've talked about for encouraging particular species with plantings and maybe discouraging others, like the noisy miner, like the common miner, and like the bellbird, otherwise known as the bell miner. And then later in the afternoon, which will probably be around 4:45, I'm going to run this conversation about feral cats in the landscape. And even though it's with Judy Dunlop from the West Australian Feral Cat Working Group, the issues are common across this country and across just about everywhere where cats are in the landscape when they're not intended to be there. And the statistics in that episode are staggering. So I won't go over them now. We'll hang that out till tomorrow. A couple of things that if you're looking to get seeds of native plants like we've been talking about, Nindathana have a great online catalogue. Don't forget that, where are we? There's lots of good stuff on birdsinbackyards.net. And over January, I'm going to be using a lot of the birdsinbackyards.net. I think it might be .net.au. Try it out. I think I need to fix that and talk about a lot of the stuff that they produced 10, 15, 20 years ago and see if any of it needs updating and apply my thoughts and my experience to it too. So there we go. Don't forget, if you're on Mastodon, add me. I'll follow you back. And I'm still on Twitter, but I'm doing more and more on Mastodon. And the community there is building, and it's pretty good. Okay, Naomi, Stan, if you were there, I don't know who else was with us with the regulars. Don't forget to join in, First Seen and Heard. I do that on Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, Twitter, and YouTube Shorts. I do that every morning when I've completed my dog walk. So, and any interesting observation that I see during the day or on the walk, I talk about it. So join in. That's always fun. It will train you to be aware of what's going on. And Naomi, that's part of getting the planting together, providing habitat, all of that really comes from what you notice and what you want to do. Oh, good. I'm glad I got that right. Thanks, Naomi. Yeah. Okay. And Naomi, thanks again for putting in all your examples, situations, and things like that, because that prompts us to keep talking about what we all experience. So that's it, gang. The flock. Until tomorrow, remember, midday, regular time, and then there'll be something a bit later in the day as well. thebirdemergency.com/live is where you can always get the links if you don't know on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. See ya. Oh, hang on, another one. What have we got? Oh, Naomi's saying thank you. Thanks, Naomi. It's always great that you are coming in. Oh, look, I may as well while I'm here. I'm always shilling. There we are, buymeacoffee.com/birdemergency. I am going to open up membership on the Bird Emergency Buy Me a Coffee, and I'm also going to do a Patreon. I'm working through that now, and I will be doing lots of habitat gardening stuff, and maybe doing stuff like this homework, so it's good that you're getting this in now, but I will be doing stuff like that for patrons, and like what I'm doing for Stan from earlier in the day, I'll do that for patrons. So there'll be a couple of levels to help me pay the bills, help me pay for the hosting and the streaming and the everything else. So I think that's it. Oh, and even if you don't use YouTube, it would be great if you subscribed on YouTube for me so that I can get up a bit in the numbers. I'm sure it'll start to build, it'll cascade, but when I get to 500, I get to unlock a few more features, and then it's pushing on to get to 1,000 so that I can actually do membership tier and all that sort of stuff there too, and do special stuff for YouTube. That's it. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow if you're coming back. Otherwise, have a great New Year's Eve. And, New Year's Day. There's going to be some good stuff New Year's Day too.